Hello and welcome to my blog. In this post-budget blog, rather than talking about the budget and what's come to pass in the last month or so, I'd like to start with something a little bit more interesting, I think, which is a couple of changes to mortgage options for contractors. So we've got a new addition to the marketplace, very exciting stuff. The launch of a new lender, Bluestone Mortgages, has coincided with them also at the same time rolling out a policy for contractors. Now, as a lender, they are unlikely to be the first choice for many of you looking for a mortgage. But what they do very well is step in when the usual suspects cannot lend. So the main thing that they do, which fills a big gap in the marketplace, is for those of you who have had gaps between your contracts, they will accept a gap of up to 6 months in the last year. They'll take a view on the income and how much you've actually generated and use that for any mortgage application going forward. As you can imagine, with that sort of approach, they're not going to be the number one choice when it comes to rates, but they do offer a good option as a last throw of the dice if a standard lender has basically declined to lend. In addition to their generous income policy for contractors, what they will also do is take a flexible view on previous credit history. So if anybody has had the odd missed payment here and there, they will actually take a view on that. And as long as it's not too serious, they will assess it as part of the overall picture of the case. So good news for some of you who may have struggled to get a mortgage via the more conventional bespoke underwriting routes. In another sort of broadening of lending criteria, we have an existing contractor-friendly lender, Leeds Building Society, who have broadened their interest-only criteria. This is quite an interesting development because a few of the larger lenders have done this already, where initially they took a very, very cautious approach to interest only in the immediate aftermath of the mortgage market review. But they've obviously now looked at the FCA rules and looked at what they're doing and realised they're probably going too far the other way. So what Leeds will now do is they will accept up to 75% loan to value. So if you put down a 25% deposit, you've got access to interest only, which gives you more scope to put down a smaller deposit than previously. But what they will also do is they will accept the equity in existing properties that you already have as your repayment vehicle, which is a very interesting approach because most lenders want some kind of investment-backed repayment vehicle like stocks and shares and ISAs. So a bit more flexibility there for those of you who do have property portfolios and want to use that equity as part of your repayment vehicle. Whilst we're on the subject of additional properties, those of you who do own buy-to-let properties may have taken a bit of a bashing from the Chancellor in the last few months with the autumn statement and the most recent budget. Obviously stamp duty has increased now in the post-April world, so you've got an additional 3% on any additional properties that you buy as a stamp duty charge on top of the base stamp duty charges. There's been some more news from the Bank of England where they've actually said they're going to issue guidance to buy-to-let lenders about guidelines on stress testing and affordability for buy-to-lets. Now this is an interesting development. There are only guidelines at present, but any of you who know what usually happens with these things will know that it will result in a change and a tightening in lending policy for buy-to-let at some point in the future. So it's one to watch at this stage. It's not hard and fast rules that have been publicised, but one thing we do know is any costs that a landlord incurs for letting properties have to be factored into affordability calculations, as well as a high stress test rate of 5.5% being utilised rather than the actual rate that you're paying. So watch this space on that one. As that unfolds, I will bring you more in the coming weeks and months. But again, this tightening of the buy-to-let criteria on mortgages is not going to let up, unfortunately. Thank you very much for listening. I'll be back next month with an update on what I've discussed today.